Welcome to the AT&T Pebble preview. BetSports Golf, Ryan Noonan here, joined as always by my friend and matchup extraordinaire, Andy Molitor. Big week for us at BetSports Golf. Ron and I had outrights on Homa, killed it down the stretch. Andy absolutely crushed matchups, up 10 units in change there. How we doing, my friend?
Good. Yeah, I was pissed too. Like I was legitimately mad at the end because my perfect matchup record for the week rested on the 72nd hole, and Wyndham Clark, like a real a-hole, hit a birdie to nip me by one in a back and forth one. Some of those were some ugly back and forth affairs, but in the end, the cream rises to the top, and I guess it was Wyndham Clark in that one. So no, good matchup week. Obviously, you and Ron had Homa. That was awesome. DFS did pretty well, all things considered. I even had to fill in one night to write a DFS article or DFS/betting article with Ron out for the evening. So it's nice to see that come through. And yeah, we did. Anyone who isn't a subscriber, we made the Friday article free. I'm pretty sure Ron's bets he put in for Saturday round 4 did pretty well as well. So overall, yeah, it was a good week. Despite it still being the Farmers. I mean, it's still kind of in the ramping up to the good golf tournaments. Although it's crazy. Like, as much as we'll complain about these tournaments, they're all just beautiful courses.
I love the Farmers, and that's probably, I don't know, maybe that's why. I think Torrey is so pretty.
Yeah, they're just good. They're great courses, bad setups. Like,
yeah,
man, did we need to play the other course? And same thing here. Like, Spyglass is great, but
I mean, it's Pebble that Beach, was the thing that made the most sense too. I think in the end, when like Sam Ryder could not close, because Ryder went like berserk on the North course, and would have been, I think if he would have held on at like 10 under, it would have been like 1 under on the South through 3 rounds. And it feels weird to have your winner of this be that, you want to have guys go out and earn it on the North, or I'm sorry, on the South course. And I think that's what Max did here. And yeah, I mean, I feel like there were some changes that they made here, some stuff that's a little bit different in terms of like the length of the rough, where you can't really bomb and gouge it anymore, or it was harder to bomb and gouge it than years past. Like fairways really did matter down the stretch. I mean, there's some good golf. I think the world of golf, like I feel like I'm excited that we're in the spot that we're in right now with all that's going on in golf. The Dubai stuff was wild. I mean, I know it was happening while we were sleeping for the most part, but all the Rory, Patty Reed drama, you come out publicly as a Patty Reed backer.
Yeah.
So, I love to, unpack that, but that was great golf to have. Man, if we would have got a playoff there to wake up to on Monday morning, would have been insane. But Rory just stones went birdie on 17 and 18 there to take that one in Dubai. And yeah, talk to me about Patty Reed. I mean, is this just, your red, white, and blue is just shining through?
3 reasons. I'm a goddamn American.
Okay.
Patty Reed is the American. I'm not gonna side with in the name of the father there. Like, he's not from here. Second off, it was my first big major win. I had Patty Reed 50-1 in that Augusta win, 6 years ago now? Yeah. Seems like a long time. Like that was nervy. If you remember that final round, he was hitting quite a few second shots out of the pine straw. Like, he got a little wild, and as Patty Reed do, he still grounded out and ended up winning his green jacket, which is more than Rory has, I hate to say. But and then thirdly, I just don't like Rory anymore. Like, I respect him. I know he's maybe the best golfer in the world. At certain points this year, I'm sure we'll consider him the best golfer in the world. But my God, like he's just turned into kind of a whiny PGA mouthpiece. I've disliked his attitude this year over the live stuff. Like, yeah, he'd be against the live stuff, but he's been pretty holier than thou. So I've grown to dislike Rory, which makes me feel bad because he's probably a pretty nice dude. And I love the pizza clip with JT where he's like talking about ordering Domino's or whatever the fuck it was. Pizza Hut or Domino's, I don't remember. But no, I just Patty Reed, and yeah, Patty Reed is a horrible person probably. Never met the guy, but I mean, it kind of checks out. So it's
kind of does seem a little bit like a scumbag, like not someone you'd want to play with, or
tough to. I mean, it's like when you have AJ Pierzynski on your team, like you love him,
sure,
But if you're playing against him, you hate his guts. I mean, there's football playing like Dominican Sue early on in his career. He was a hellraiser and was stomping on people. But if he's on your team, it's like, I don't mind this guy. So yeah, I'm a Patty Reed. And he beat Rory head to head in one of the best. Go watch the 2016 Ryder Cup match. Like, I'm sure you can just go to YouTube. Oh, yeah. Not right now. Wait till the end of the show. But you get to YouTube and look up Reed Rory Ryder Cup. That's it, and they'll have highlights from that. That was the best Ryder Cup singles match of all time. As they're like hamming it up with the crowd and playing up the and Reed won up in that one. So. Point. Yeah. Reed got the green jacket, beat him straight up, and he's from America. What are you going to do? I can't hate the guy. It's as hard as it is.
But he did it again, Andy. He did.
He for sure cheated with the palm tree.
He totally cheated again with the palm tree. Like, it's like he can't.
I respect it. I respect trying to get away with it at a big tournament like that.
Yeah, because I remember, again, the Farmers. He won the Farmers a couple years ago and did the same stuff at the Farmers where he said he was plugged, but he picked it up and then put it back down and then called the rules official over. Like, there are certain things where it is policed a little bit different than other sports because there is still, I don't know, there's some stuff that you kind of control in the gentleman's aspect of the sport. And like, I don't know, the palm tree thing again, if you didn't see it, like there are 3 palm trees. He clearly flew his drive because we didn't see it anywhere else. It disappeared into the one tree. Claims that it was in the other tree. So he gets a penalty stroke, but he gets to drop by the tree versus being unable to identify your ball. You got to go back and hit 3 from
the tee. Hit a provisional, yeah.
Right. So like he benefited from that massively. And again, because he found a Pro V1 in the tree, like shocker. Like,
and there were pictures. Yeah, there were pictures of that tree. There's like 8 golf balls up in there. Every time I tell this story, there's another golf ball. I think I said 7 yesterday, and truly, I think there were 6 in the shot. But like, there's a bunch of balls up in there. Yeah, that's mine, sure. And they're just like, all right, fuck it.
Yeah, it's just all of it's really slimy, and I get it. I get the Rory thing. Like, they needed someone to do that. They needed someone to kind of champion the tour, and I think it kind of helped him get back to that world number 1 type ascension. I think he really used that down the stretch. We'll see how that works. The Masters will be incredible television with all the live guys that qualify to be there, and a lot of different reasons for Rory to want to get there. Yeah, Dan doing quality check here. So yeah, it's I don't know. He makes for great television. He is a villain. I'm excited that he'll be there for the Masters and for, major tournaments for at least for a little while until they can figure out what they're doing with the official world golf rankings and all the points that they need to keep those guys.
If they start losing a couple more, like we're at a tipping point. We haven't talked any live yet this year, but they're at a pretty close to being a tipping point. If Matsuyama jumps and a couple of the other, one of the Cam
Young,
you lose 2 or 3 players in the top 50 yet. There's a certain point where it's like, all right, they have to come to all the majors.
But here's my analogy. I just literally thought of this. Remember the Michael Scott Paper Company?
Yeah.
Right. Like they slowly started stealing clients, but underneath the surface, Michael Scott Paper Company was not sustainable, right? Their prices were too low. Like everyone.
Well, no, and that's why it's
they got a buyout at the last minute,
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, the Saudi royal family has more money than Michael and Pam. Like that. Sure, that's the thing. It's a completely unsustainable business model. But the people who are running it don't give a shit. They could lose. They could lose $1 billion every year for a while. They've said we're going to run it this long, so it's crazy. Like by the time they actually say like, oh, right, we've lost like $30 billion. It's going to be way too late. So I don't think it's going anywhere.
But just that we've had 4 execs in the matter of 2 months have left there. They claim that they were let go for different reasons, but they obviously will never hear that. I'm sure that they will never be able to speak up until, their NDA is clear. But it's just as a wild piece that who's running the ship there? Oh, there's obviously a crap ton of money, and that's what's going to be able to get the players at the end of the day. You're not coming over because you think it's anything more than that. You're not coming over, like Bubba said, because your son knows who's on the aces and loves the aces and all that stuff. Like it's a load of crap. So I don't think it's going away.
The Aces are the best team.
Yeah, I don't know who's on the aces, and I'm in. This is what we do.
Are you kidding?
I know it's DJ, and that's it, right? DJ and Patty,
DJ Reed, Pat Perez. The Aces are a powerhouse. No, and it's funny you bring up the money, and the money is obviously the biggest draw. The money, that's kind of a segue to this week. The money is the reason this field is weak, and this is not Live, but it is the DP Tour running a couple of between the Dubai and the Ras Al Khaimah, whatever where this one is. This one is in Saudi Arabia, I think. No, this is in United Arab Emirates. So these 2 weeks of Farmers and AT&T, there's a much better purse to be had, especially the guys who play more DP World Tour events. They're going to lean towards this. The field has been better both weeks, probably over in the desert, and I mean there's just a really big amount of money to be made compared to some of these non-elevated events here. Elevated events are coming up. We will get to having some good fields again, obviously, but yeah, you have 5 guys in the top 15 here, and it was like 15 of the top 75 or something along those lines. It's not a great field outside of the few that I'm guessing are here for sponsor stuff or have made some sort of commitment. So, we will. I probably won't be betting on that one. I just don't have enough time to get into full DP Tour stuff, but it is kind of drawing away from the field here, and that's why we're left with the top of the board looking like, God, who's your 5th favorite here? Seamus Power, guys. Barbasol winner, Seamus Power.
Yeah. You have back-to-back elevated events on deck with Waste Management and then Riviera. So like, it's a shame because like Pebble is,
I know.
Gosh, I mean, like it can be a really tough watch because you do have, as you mentioned, we have the 3-course rotation and we do have the celebrity elements of the Pro-Am, and it is a different Pro-Am in terms of what we just had a couple weeks ago at the Amex, where that was a little bit more of like, I don't know, executive Pro-Am, where like this is, Romo and Josh Allen and, you get a bunch of actual
Alfonso Ribeiro.
Yeah, you'll get to see him do the Carlton and all those things. And it's a shame. Like Pebble Beach is spectacular golf. Monterey, like these are all Spyglass. These are gorgeous courses that if you played Tiger Woods growing up, you played these courses a ton. They're just spectacular views. It sucks that it has the Pro-Am element, so you get slow rounds. It sucks where it's located in the schedule now, which is just kind of a shame. So it's kind of relegated to like just a crap event, and that sucks because it's Spieth, Hovland, and Fitz, and there is a massive drop off in terms of where we are in terms of quality of field.
Yeah, and I don't want to. Hovland's level's high enough where I can put him in with those names. I mean, there's some major winners, and then you're like, oh, we're at Seamus Power. So yeah, it is a bit of a drop off, but it's still a fun week. And you mentioned the Pro-Am aspect too. Sure, it's fun to play with Josh Allen or Bill Murray, but there are still guys that don't love the 6-hour rounds that come along with the playing with the amateurs. Although the course will play easier. Like we talked about this in other Pro-Am events. These greens are tiny. We'll get to some of the course stuff here in a bit. The greens are tiny, but they are it's gonna be really advantageous pin placement during the first 3 rounds because of they don't want 8-hour rounds, guys. So between that, the rough being mowed pretty low, and the fairways are nice and wide here, it should play easy. The winners are usually 20 under here-ish, something around those lines, depending on how we get for weather. But yeah, it's and again, Pebble's so pretty. Like it's just a shame. It's a shame it's not. And it's not like it hasn't been in rotation for bigger events, guys.
We had a 2019 Open with Gary Woodland took that down. But yeah, I mean, this is a spot where I don't know. We should be highlighting one of our best courses in the country, one of the most beautiful places in the world, and it's going to be Sunday is going to be a good watch. Otherwise, it'll be not good. Interesting. I
was going to go. I had a trip all planned with the wife. Ended up falling through with some family issues, and we just didn't have people to watch the kids for a week because we can't just pull them out of school again. Man, I've been doing that too much, but. Took a complete merge. Going to go to Waste Management instead. I'll be there Thursday, Friday, I think.
Nice.
Just real spur of the moment shit. Andy will be getting trashed at the Waste Management. If you're down there, say hi to me. Jesus, it should be fun. Yeah, you want to? Oh, real quick too. Again, we mentioned the big wins. Good job. Still giving promos. Like anytime we do something good, we're just gonna keep doing promos. I don't care. I'll keep giving money away if we keep winning because it's one way or the other. I'm getting paid, whether it's winning bets or some subs here. So 30% off for the week because of the 30-1 win by Mr. Ron and Mr. Noonan. Good job to them. So 30% off over at betsportsgolf.com. If you have any questions, hit me up, and I will I'll let you know what's going on with that. If you have some questions, you can always hit me in the DMs or email us over there. So I haven't bet this tournament yet either. I have like 10 guys highlighted, and I'm just going to make you talk about yours. I haven't even really looked at the Discord much. I've been so busy, so I'm not even sure who you're betting a ton. So it's going to be fun, but I don't know what outside of, hey, they're short, they're easy, and the greens are small. What do you have to say about these courses?
Yeah, that is the commonality. As you mentioned, we are running back basically the same premise as what we had a couple weeks ago at Amex. We have a 3-course rotation, Pro-Am elements. We have a Saturday cut, top 60 in ties. We'll play Pebble for a second time on Sunday. All very similar. As you mentioned, we're short courses. We don't see many on tour that are around 7,000 or shorter, and that's kind of what we have here across the board. We have minimal rough because, as you mentioned, we don't want to have 6-hour, 8-hour rounds with the diameters. So, very different than what we had last week at touring. And then you mentioned, what's the word? Postage stamp greens, smallest on tour, 3,500 square feet. It's literally like half of what the average tour in terms of square footage for greens are. So weather is kind of the great equalizer here, even in this element of having the Pro-Am, because just they're all along the coast. They're all exposed to the various degrees, but all enough where weather can really be the only thing that can slow anything down here. So outside of last year, it was kind of the outlier in terms of Tom Hoagie. I've won the last two. I booked Burger here and Hoagie. So I'm looking to keep Pebble running. We'll see. Hoagie was an outlier at 60-1. When you look at who's won here in the past, it has been the top of the board, and we have a clear top of the board, as we mentioned a couple times, and then just bombs, Andy, like bombs, like Nick Taylor, like Vaughn Taylor, Ted Potter Jr. jumps to mind. It is a spot where, because you are completely neutered off the tee in terms of distance, there is no advantage. Everyone's really playing from the same buckets in terms of approach. So you really just basically need to spin it really well from like 75 to like 150, 125 this week and make those putts. That's really, really it. So everyone's going to miss greens. So around the green is going to matter because, again, we mentioned they're really, really small. So, and I think there's something sticky here in terms of course history as well, because we know POA can be wonky. We saw that last week at times. And again, this is similar to where you just don't have a lot of guys that like playing in this type of event. So guys that can kind of manage. That's why I'm surprised. Again, I think we change things with the elevated events next couple of weeks. Like Jason Day loves slow rounds. Patrick Cantley's played really well here. He loves slow rounds. But again, because the next 2 weeks are important and they've been playing a bunch, Pebble kind of gets the shaft and left alone.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, if you want to talk about what kind of price range has won here before, it's hard to use it because of the differentiation in what we have for a field right now. It's gotten worse over the years, especially now with the elevated events coming up and the good events over in the Middle East right now. It's been tough to get a good field here. Still a decent field, but yeah, most of the guys I'm looking at are not short. I'm not going to go crazy bombs because how do you predict a Ted Potter Jr. win? Not in 2023. That's how you don't bet on Ted Potter Jr.
You don't.
It's not a thing. His game is not in a great place right now. Might as well take some Hoffman at that point. But there is something to be said for looking at this middle of the board if you want to fade some of the top guys. Although, like, if Spieth just won by 5, I guess so be it. Like, if I'm looking at my numbers, what I've run so far, a lot of it has been like, hey, Jordan Spieth's pretty good at golf lately, honestly. And he has some hot rounds. So he might be a live ad for me. Like, if he were to come out a little sluggish, because he is the kind of guy who could go just oh, there's a 61 from Jordan with like 3 hole-ins from the sand, because there is a lot of sand here too. Outside of oh god, what's the one where they don't call it sand, or they don't call it bunkers? You know, it's just all sand.
You
know what I'm saying? Outside of that one, this is like the most. Like, this has a ton of bunkers, a lot of bunkering around the greens. And as you mentioned, it's like we get these two kinds of courses where, oh, distance matters here, or it's like accuracy matters here. None of it matters here. It does not matter. Like driving off the tee, all of that, you can throw most of that out. There's a lot of forced layups. There's a lot of clubbing down. There's a lot of spots where even if you are hitting driver, everybody's going to kind of be in decent shape unless you end up on a really weird slope and have the ball well below your feet or something. There's, for the most part, it's, you know, like, it's truly, truly, truly the second shot kind of course where everyone's going to have these short to maybe low end mid-range iron shots. You gotta find some scoring opportunities. You can do that through your iron play, through, you know, probably getting lucky on how these land on some of these greens. It has rained a ton lately. The greens are going to be really receptive. Might help some of the scoring here. But then again, you know, the tiny greens, if you're missing them, you have to be good out of the sand. Like I said, a lot of bunkering around the greens, and you have to be just kind of good around the green with your short game and your chipping. So there's guys that fit that sort of, you know, that sort of thing. And I think maybe we can start to push Hovland out of the, hey, this is an asshole who can't chip kind of guy. It's starting to come out a little bit, but he still worries me and stuff. Like a price like that, like there's just kind of jumping ahead to the top of the board. There's no chance I'm betting Victor Hovland.
Okay, I get it, right? You know, we don't want to shoot too much at the top anyway, for the most part. I think there are instances when you and I will do so, and but I think that it's, you got to cross those guys off somehow. And you know, Vic's won here as an amateur before. Again, it's kind of that type of field. You can make the case for it, but I'm kind of with you. If I'm firing at one of the three, especially with some of the way that the odds have moved from open, where Spieth was basically across the board the favorite, mostly 9s. There are 11s now on Spieth. There are 12s on Spieth. Chris is out to 12-5, and Matthew Fitzpatrick is now actually the favorite in most spots. Hovland, like there's some spots that have them all booked the same 10, 11. So again, like you said, a very, very clear delineage at the top that those are the three guys. But I'm with you. This is kind of Spieth, like you know, the irons, the short irons can be really good. Sometimes, I mean, he's added the distance, but like he can spray it and get himself in trouble, and that's not really a problem here. You know, he can take, you know, 4-iron off the tee and put himself in position to kind of go at these pins. And when you look at the history here, it's pretty nice. He won in 2017. Last 3 years, 9th, 3rd, and 2nd. Has a couple other top 10s here since he's been playing in 2013. Comes here every year. Obviously, he's an AT&T guy, so he's locked into this. And you know, I'll be interested to see what his schedule looks like. I mean, basically, he took last week off, right? So he's probably playing the next 3 weeks into, you know, play those elevated events. So Jordan would be my favorite of the three. You know, Fitz is a guy that always, to me, like he changed last year in a lot of ways. I would think of him as a guy that would fit well here because scrambling and putting and where distance wasn't an issue. And last year, just new guy added all that distance and was really just a beast off the tee. So I would rather kind of wait and see it for Fitz. This wouldn't be the spot, especially when Jordan is the same number with his kind of immaculate course history. And I don't know, Spieth seems like a dude that is totally fine with playing pro-ams and, you know, rubbing elbows with whoever for, you know, solid 6 rounds out there. So yeah, Spieth would be my play at the top, but I also skipped it.
Yeah, out of those three, agreed. I like Spieth the best, especially at the price kind of coming down a little. But yeah, it's not a week I'm going to hit anyone at the top. I'm, again, not betting Mav at numbers like that. Hoagie, I know it's stupid to say, oh, the repeater doesn't happen. I have Hoagie incredibly high, good form, good fit, good irons. Like, he's another one that's kind of in the pocket where, you know, if there's a bit of a rough start and there's a 35-40 on Hoagie and it's not too late in the tournament yet, that's something I might look at, you know, adding, because I just have him looking so good here. I have him looking good in general. He's another guy that's, you know, obviously he won here, that helps, but just overall his 2022 in general, I gave him a pretty big upgrade in the numbers I use. And he gave himself the upgrade by doing it. But yeah, I'm not touching much low here. I know Justin Rose has been a name that's been in people's mouths the last 3 weeks, and you're still kind of getting a decent price on a guy that's played pretty okay golf. I mean, that's a compliment. Pretty okay golf lately.
Yeah, he's all over the board in terms of price when you jump into this next tier, which I think is a pretty large tier in terms of the guys after the top three. Rose is out there, 22. There's a 40 on Rose on points bets. So like Chris is 35. Like there's you don't really see that too often. I mean, you will definitely see, discrepancies in prices across books, but like that's a pretty large one. So yeah, I don't hate that for Rose. That number at 40 is not a bad one. I took a shot on Seamus Power to open. It was 28. There were 25s for a little bit. That's down to 19 in some spots, 20 in others. Chris, if you were offshore, looks like they still have the best number, 25 and change on Seamus. Like Seamus had this last year and kind of gave it away. And just kind of think of what works out well here. And he does it pretty well. Small, short irons, proximity ranges that are key, 75 to 100, 100 to 125. Puts himself in good spots on short par fours, which we're going to see a lot of here. You got to take advantage of the par fives as well. So these are all things that Seamus does really well. I just like the 28 because I definitely think that he and Hoagie are kind of in that next tier for me. And I thought the 28s would vanish, and they certainly did. So little hard for me to justify it to someone at 19. This is so hard, right? Like we talked about this a lot. Like if I think Seamus Power is going to win, I got to be okay with a 19 still, right? Like in the golf outright world is such a different thing than anything else that we talk about in terms of betting. Even like futures, in like a coach of the year award or something like that. Like if I think the guy can win it, I should probably take it at plus money. So it's really hard to like feel like, I didn't get to 28, so I can't take Power at 19. If you're listening now and you do some lower work and you like Seamus and you know that people got 25s and 28s, like just take it, right? If you think you can win, who gives a crap if you didn't get the best of the number? You're still going to cash a 19. It's still a pretty nice ticket. It's tough to not get the best of the number because we're so ingrained in doing that in terms of betting. But I think golf outright betting is a totally different beast.
Well, that's the thing too. In any liquidity pool where it's like multiple, a big field, like you brought up awards betting. We bet Chase Young to win. I think it was defensive rookie of the year. Obviously his rookie year. And I mean, he was a massive favorite. Not massive, but like pre-tournament, preseason, he was like plus 250.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe we found some plus 350s a little, but those got gobbled up in a hurry. And it's like, when you're betting these, you're looking, I want a long shot. I want Joe Burrow 200 to 1 to win the Heisman. I want these big numbers, but it's like Chase Young should probably be even money. It's one of those things where we unloaded some accounts on that stuff because it's just, this is clearly heads and tails how this award works. Like it's going to be a pass rusher this year based on who's kind of involved in probably who's going to have a say in this at the end of the year. And that was an award we put a lot of money on because it just, again, you miss the best number, you don't get the big long shot price. Sometimes it's the move. And, we said we're not doing that here, and obviously it's a little different. 19 to 1 is still a pretty nice price if it comes through. And again, if you rate someone high enough, sometimes you have to take a lower price.
Yeah. And that was the pause with me for Hoagie, which is still I still have room for him if I want to add him. It's kind of going to be like, do I add Hoagie or do I wait for an outright opportunity live? Because I think we get it with a spot where weather can come into play and we have the 3-course rotation. You can get some spots where, if Spyglass is playing significantly easier, because we've seen some variations in terms of, strength of these courses. And then all of a sudden you got a guy who's in contention and hasn't played there yet. Like there's some opportunities to take advantage of some live betting. This is, I think, important when we have these rotational spots and we have these weather events too. I think that there are more room to justify some live ads. So, because Hoagie's the same thing. Like part of it for me mentally is like, I got Hoagie last year at 60. Like, can I get Hoagie at the same spot to repeat at 18? Like that seems kind of like a dumb bet, but maybe not, because he just, anything that you think matters here, he pops in a big, big, big way. So
yeah, he checked some goddamn boxes. And I mean, just real quick before we get into some more bets, maybe we talk about what matters here. I did mention like I'm throwing out any driving stuff. Maybe
yeah,
good drives gained, which is just did you put the ball somewhere and then put it on the green with the second shot, which is going to be tough here. That is a tough ask. Just kind of based on, like we said, the size of these greens and the fact that a lot of your second shots might be coming off a slope. The rough is not super penal, but it is truly a second shot course. I rated approach game and ball striking a lot higher than I normally would, and I'm using that every week. But around the green stuff, and then I think there's still a little room to be waiting in some POA putting. It is a different kind of putting. I know
yep.
it's not something that comes up a ton more on the West Coast where they do some of this overseeding on the Dormant Bermuda. But POA putting, this is another one where I went lighter than I have in past. And I know I don't use this at a lot of courses, but real lightly, some course history here. How have you played at these 3 courses over the course of your career here? And I know a lot of guys don't have a ton of it. And then got just like short proximity. There's gonna be so many short irons here, hitting proximity from like 75 to 125, maybe even up to 150. And then what was my last thing I ended up using in this? Oh, just scrambling and sandies. You are gonna have to be a good scrambler here. I know it's a low scoring course, but there's gonna be spots where things just don't work out. And because it is a course or an event, 3 courses where the winner's gonna be 20 under, you can't be bogeying stuff, with a 2 putt or bogeying because you had a long putt because you can't get on the green after you end up in a fairway. You go fairway bunker to like greenside bunker. You still need to find your way to get up and down there.
And that would be the bugaboo for Tom Hoge if you're looking to poke any holes around the green stuff over the last 50 rounds, 36 rounds is not great. But again, the other stuff is so good, right? Approach, the proximity buckets you talked about, birdie opportunities, par 5 scoring, short par 4s. Like he's like near the top. He's like top 10 in a lot of those. So like, it is the adage of like, hey, you don't have to scramble so much if you don't miss the greens. The problem here is they're so small, you're going to miss them at some point. And how do you handle those things too?
Yep.
You mentioned good drives. I think good drives matters because it does kind of capture, both approach and, finding fairways and setting yourself up to be able to give yourself birdie looks. So, you don't want to double count with opportunities or birdie opportunities and things like that. But like, these are the things that matter. You're going to have to score here too and take advantage because the rest of the field is doing the same. I don't think there's anything that you talked about that I don't. You can't have any 3 putts out here. Again, the greens are so small. That's a problem. And it's just a pretty large, in terms of where the par 4s are. You do have some shorter par 4s that are in that 350 to 400 range. Again, we don't get a lot of those on tour. How do you handle those? You'll get some guys that don't pop at a lot of other events, but then, they typically are at near the top of the leaderboard consistently at Pebble Beach because it is pretty unique one-off. So
yeah, that's the thing too. Some of these guys are, it's like, oh, I have a 40-yard iron into this tiny green. Like the tiny green can be tiny, but it's on a short par 4. And not all of those holes are going to line up for you. Just be like, hey, I'm pretty much at the collar of the green at this point, because there are some spots where it's just going to have to be a layup or less than driver on some of those holes. But even with that, it's like, hey, I had to lay up, and this is still only 120 into the green.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of easy opportunities there. And 3-putt avoidance, bogey avoidance, a few other things like that. 3-putt is hard for me to wrap my head around here because it's like, well, how can you possibly 3-putt? Because it's such a small green, but it still happens.
Yep.
There are some bad. I mean, anyone who watched any of the action last week, the balls did roll a little. I think maybe with the weather and the rain we've had up here, the greens might be a little slower, but I saw a lot of putts roll, like, oh shit, he left a lot of meat on that bone. Like, this is a problem. Like, this is a 3-putt now all of a sudden. So do got to avoid that. Hopefully people can just end up with decent proximity, not have to worry about that for the most part. At least the guys I bet on.
Yeah, a couple other guys that I haven't bet on, but I liked in this top tier, and part of it for me was price. And again, maybe that's a flawed part of my handicap, but I couldn't pull the trigger even though I like their fit here. They also have some course history here, all those reasons. If you don't know, you will hear it on the broadcast at some points. Mav McNeely grew up on this course on the 15th hole. Google it. Look at that house. It's insane.
He's rich.
He is, You grow up on Pebble Beach. Shocker. Your family's got a shit ton of money. Mav McNeely grew up on the 15th. And there's some solid course history. He's been a popular play here since he's been on tour. He's had some decent finishes. He's flirted with the top of the board a little bit. He is short, though. We're looking at like 16s to 20s for the most part on Mav McNeely. And the recent finishes for Mav have been really good. But like a lot of it is, it's just tough, man. It's been a lot of putting. And again, like, it matters. You're going to have to score here. We'd rather you make your putts than not make your putts. It's just really hard to kind of justify chasing some bad approach play from Mav. But again, you can't argue with like really solid finishes here. Let me bring him up real quick. He's been playing a nice little swing season to end the year. Let's see, last 25. Like we're dealing with a bunch of, so Shriner's T10, Zozo 12th, CJ Cup 18th, Mayakoba 10th. He was 7th at the Sony, 31st at Farmers. But again, he's like losing an approach across the board.
I do a rolling form number that I use in part of my modeling. It's heavier on long-term form, as everything should be, because that's how you get. And again, not too heavy because you're double counting with this if we're putting in shorter term stuff too. So don't go crazy with it. But as far as long-term form, he's top 5 here for me. As far as everyone is in the field, he's top 5. As far as the guys who's played and how they've played over the last 5. I have a little lower in course fit, even though it is a West Coast course. He's a West Coast guy. And not only a West Coast guy, like a neighborhood kid, apparently we'll call him. So, I mean, I still don't love the fit in a few spots. And I think some of that has to do with his irons. They can be a little weak at times. So I did, I will tell you, I did bet while you were talking. And my shortest price is 45 to 1. So okay. I've not gotten up to the top of the board yet.
Joel Damon.
Close. I couldn't find one. Is there a 45 on Damon?
Yeah, it's a 45. Chris is 49.
I'm only seeing 40s. I ended up staying off him for now, as much as I love his bucket hat. But I mean, Chris is up there at 49. All right, one more.
Yep. Let me see. I like this game. Alex Smalley.
Yep, Alex Smalley, 45 to 1, bet online.
Yep.
Great course fit, really good form, all things considered. And then strong iron, strong green and regulation stuff. I think that can kind of carry him to some scoring. If he can find these small greens, I think putting isn't going to matter as much, and he's fine. So Alex Smalley, yeah, for sure. He's a guy that's going to be on a lot of cards for me this year. If at tour, at events like this, where it's like, man, we don't have to beat Rob, Rory, we don't have to beat Max, we don't have to beat Scotty, we don't have to beat a lot of names here. No disrespect to major winner and a guy I bet at that tournament, Matt Fitzpatrick, but it's not the scariest of fields to take some shots down the board here.
No, not at all. I like it. It's definitely a guy for you. And
4,900.
Yeah, I don't. I'm not surprised because he's rating very well for me and all the things that I've put into play this week too. So yeah, he makes a lot of sense and it's a good number. Again, like you mentioned, we do have a weaker field. So these guys, we thought about like historically how it's broken down here. Like these guys would be pushed down the board. There has to be a 25 to 60 range here, and these guys that would typically be a little bit lower or pushed up, and Smalley is one of those guys, but that's a good number. Don't hate that whatsoever. There are, if you're looking at domestics, there's 50 on Smalley at MGM. Would be
one of these. It's just the weather's been bad and the roads are a little sketchy. I haven't had it in me to like drive to Iowa and bet at some of the domestics. Even though I've been the nice part about winning at DFS, and I'm winning small, but I'm winning. Mostly thanks to Ron's articles again. But the nice part about winning at DFS is you can use that money to bet at DraftKings. It's all just one big pot. Like anytime I've hit anything at DFS, I've usually just used that money to bet outright in golf. Yeah, DraftKings has to just love me. Just over $1 million down there. The only thing I've ever hit in a legal book was a Circa. I think it was Matt Fitzpatrick. I bet that it's Circa in Iowa. Otherwise, I am offshore. So let me just run through some guys. I'm going to run through some names I bet. You tell me if you match up on anything. I legitimately have not gone into the Discord and looked at who you bet.
I got 3 more guys that I bet, all in I got them at 60, between 60, 65, 80. So like they could be in this range here.
Well, you do yours, and I'll tell you if I matched on any of them then.
I bet David Lipsky.
Goddamn
60.
right you did.
He matched up for you.
Yeah, I found a rare, a weird off. I think it was Bookmaker. They're hanging at 75. I'd bet him at 60.
There's 80 on PointsBet. PointsBet late to the party this week. PointsBet first in the market last week. PointsBet
very late. People were pissed about that.
Yeah, they so 80 on Lipsky. I got 60 on Lipsky, and at the time it was the best number. There are a lot of 55s. It's moved to 70 on DraftKings, so like I have the worst of the number on Lipsky, but I'd fire at 55s or 60 if that's where you're more comfortable going. If you happen to have PointsBet, you can get down, $20 on Lipsky, 80 on PointsBet. It's really nice,
and that is the thing. And no disrespect to anyone's business model, but when we say, hey, the best price is at PointsBet, you might not be able to bet very much on it. And
I have more trouble at DraftKings than PointsBet. Part of that is, tackles and futures
doesn't help.
Yeah.
So yeah,
but I got Max last
card.
week. Yeah, PointsBet. Yeah, Lipsky. Yeah, I mean, short iron stuff is really good.
First person I added.
Yeah, there's just looking at everything, like the proximity ranges that matter here. He's terrific. Good drives. He's going to put himself in situations to score. Around the green game is solid. Like just overall long-term approach is rates out highly in this field. Ken just thought it was a bad number on Lipsky, who's been playing some pretty decent golf. So yeah, I like that number on Lipsky. Next is a guy that I don't know. I feel like he'll be my new Aaron Wise. I will be betting a lot of Ben Griffin. And Ben Griffin rates out really highly for me this week. And by really highly, I mean over the last 50 rounds, Ben Griffin ranks out first for me. Approach, proximity, short par fours, first and birdie or better. Really good on long par 5 or par 5 scoring. Around the green is fine. Like he got in the mix again last week at a tough track. Just kind of like this kid, and I'm going to continue to take shots on him. 65 was the number. Let me see what we have out there now. I think he's going to be popular. They're again PointsBet late to the market. 66 on Ben Griffin, so you can still kind of get that. Otherwise, he's dropped down to 55 and 50 in a lot of books. So I imagine he'll be popular because I'm sure a lot of people running similar stuff to what I'm doing this week are going to get Ben Griffin.
And I am running similar stuff, as you so eloquently pointed out. Ben Griffin is a name that's probably going to be on a lot of betting cards, especially at this price. He's on my betting card at 65-1. The form is harder to, put a good grasp on with some of the limited numbers you have on this guy. But everything I've done with course fit, everything I've done with like your iron play and the greens and regulation stats that I have available on Ben Griffin make him. I'd play this down to like 50. Like I was super surprised actually this number was. I thought he was going to be a lot more popular. There are places that are as low as 40-1 right now. I was able to bet 65-1 this morning.
Nice. Yeah, when you so there's some really cool stuff that Data Golf has done. They have this new approach skill interactive on their site, which is really cool. I'm not sure if this is part of the free or not, but it's cool. You talk about like proximity. This is actually like you can measure strokes gains, proximity, greens and regulation. They have good shot percentage, and they kind of show you what they classify as a good shot in terms of proximity to the hole, poor shot avoidance. When you look at like the key buckets that we need this week in terms of strokes gains, Ben Griffin is second over the last 12 months. But just like barely like 1,000th of a point behind Cam Smith in terms of short strokes gained. So strokes gained per shot from that key bucket of like 100 to 150. So like again, we don't have a ton, but it's like 106 shots. So like a pretty decent sample size. relative to the field. So like we don't have a lot in comparison to some other guys, but this is kind of what this guy seems to do. And it'd be weird to stop chasing him here at 65.
Yeah, and it's tough because this time last year he's playing the Panama Open. He's playing Corn Ferry.
But we've had that a little bit more the last couple of years where you've had these Corn Ferry guys come in.
It's made it trickier, but I've been more open-minded about, hey, this guy's form looks fine, and I know some of this has come at like the Bermuda Butterfield Open and the Sony and maybe events that aren't super tough courses, super tough fields. But we're not looking at super tough courses or super tough fields this week either. So at 65 to 1 or more, the guy came out and got fourth at the Wyndham. I mean, essentially in his second or third real start on the tour. So yeah, Ben, we're gonna be talking Ben Griffin a lot this year, I think. Yeah, and yes, that's another one. I feel like you might have. Do you just have access to my spreadsheet?
I don't. But
we're matching up heavily today.
It wouldn't be a bad thing. I mean, the way that you print on matchups, I just need to
We'll see. I'd like to get an outright. I want to go 0 for a million on matchups. Just get one outright. Yeah. I feel like now I have the curse of Morikawa after the TOC.
Dude, Morikawa is going to win some. I mean, this is not a hot take. Morikawa is going to win a big golf tournament or two this year. I will be chasing Morikawa.
He's playing well.
Dude, he hit 46 of 56 fairways last week and made putts.
And what do we consider his strength? His irons. If he's going to be just great off the tee too, basically just, hey, if you putt in the middle of the pack this week or a little above average, win by 3.
Yeah. I feel like Riv, I'm going to have Morikawa on my card at Riviera.
Exactly. Yeah, to keep up with the theme of matching up exactly with you, like for sure.
Yeah, it's a good spot.
Who else? Last guy
on my card. I mean, maybe the like poster child for these types of courses. Like you wouldn't play him anywhere else. He's going to stay in the fairway. He has had some streaks in the past where he actually won 2 events in a row a couple years ago. Again, anything that matters with distance. You just would never play this guy at all. He might not pop for you because maybe long-term approach isn't great, but can putt pretty well and plays short golf courses. And that is the Toddfather, Brendan Todd, 80 to 1. Let's see. Yeah, there's some 80 still. But again, he's 55 in some spots. He's pretty short. And you look at, I think he's got some pretty dynamite course history here.
Yeah. So, current form, course fit, I have him pretty high. Iron play is not. That's what's kept me off him. He's higher up on my list than I thought he would be when you mentioned him, but he is a little lower than I would like. He kind of was borderline for me, so I did stay off him. That's where our love affair ends there, Noonan. But sadly. Yeah, I mean, like you said, the form and the fit are nice. If his irons play well, he's going to be he's a top 20 kind of guy here.
Yeah. That's the thing. Like, long-term just, approach isn't good, but when you break it into, like I have 51st in strokes gained approach over the last 50 rounds. When you look into the key proximity buckets, like 100 to 125, he's 8th. Like, you need him to get a wedge in his hand. He could be really good. And he's going to put himself in the fairway to do those things. Actually really good in like par 4s from 400 to 452. I have him first. So a lot of the courses that we play nowadays, things that are stretched out, he is struggling because he's going to have to hit something longer. He does not hit those long irons well. But a spot like this kind of, neutralizes everything. He could be in the mix. So we know the putter can get hot as well. So I'm trying to find where what his course history is, because I think that's part of it for me too here, which, again, is sometimes can be noisy because right, we're dealing with literally 4 rounds. In this instance, 2 rounds.
2 rounds of strokes gained data. Yeah,
strokes gained data per year. So like it's pretty weak. 16th last year. He's got a 10th year before, so he's been in the mix.
And when I did look at course data here, I did leave out the, using this course as a major data.
Yeah,
that's not. Don't do that. That's a completely different golf course, honestly.
Totally different rough.
They make it much, much tougher. And like we said, if you missed the beginning of the show, for 3 rounds, this is going to be set up so that Macklemore doesn't have to shoot a 9 on every hole. Like they're gonna make it easy pin locations. The rough's gonna be mowed pretty low. They're gonna try to take it easy on these amateurs to keep the rounds moving. So, all right, closing
Josh
up
Allen,
go ahead.
Injured to play in the Pro Bowl, but he'll be out here. Elbow's not too bad to play golf, but now we get Huntley in the Pro Bowl because Allen
Huntley's in the Pro Bowl. Josh Allen, there's a pretty good list. Like it's a fun list here. Ray Romano he plays every year. Like we said, Carlton from Fresh Prince, Alfonso Ribeiro. There's a bunch of athletes. Larry Fitzgerald Jr. plays. Clint Eastwood's grandson or son, I never know. He has like kids that are like 50 years younger than him, so it's weird to check. Scott Eastwood. He is the boyfriend of the Asian girl in the one scene where he gets kind of roughed up in Gran Torino. He's in other stuff too, but that's what I remember him from. Deep pull. So speaking of deep pulls, closing things out, like you mentioned, I bet Smalley at 45. I bet Lipsky at 75. I bet Ben Griffin with you at 65. And I added Joel Dahman because, and again, I just pull odds from one book to give me a rough idea. And that book had Dahman at like 30. Joel Dahman at 49 is a bet for me for sure. The course fit is weakish here, but low key, good form, good irons, and good enough to win a tournament of this nature. And then a guy I've bet a bunch at 2 longer bombs in Neesmith and Russell Knox.
Yep. Okay. I thought they might be on your list.
Both of those are just iron, kind of like iron, green and regulation gods. Good enough form where I'm fine with them. And then course fit is pretty high for them. They're just like the course fit, course correlation. So Neesmith at 70 and Russell Knox at 80 were small adds. And then someone we haven't talked about at all, I don't think all year. And I'm just checking what he's played because it's not always. I don't know how many times he's actually played out here, but Detry.
Mm-hmm. I got him on my list.
Is he Belgian? I'm trying to think. So this is a weird play too because he is a bomber, and we said we're not looking for bombers here, and that's the thing. Like, I mean, it's it's like anything. You can't just be identified by one thing for the most part. He is a bomber, but he has other parts. He contains multitudes, guys. He has a lot of good aspects to his game, and I found a 50 on him that I thought was a little off market that I ended up playing. So Detry, and it's another one too where the form has been good enough where I'm going to give him. I can't. The last cut he missed was the KFT Championship. So I mean, he's come up on tour. He played the Scottish Open. Top 10, he played the Open, played well, and then some weird off-season stuff. The Sanderson, like getting 9th at the Sanderson, isn't super impressive, but a lot of it was, especially since a lot of it was putting. And I already made fun of the Bermuda Butterfield. Don't do that again. But the form in the spring season was good enough where I'm going to bet him at 50-1 here.
Yeah, good pedigree across the pond there. So yeah, don't hate that he's on the list. There's a handful of guys I thought that Knox and Neesmith would be guys for you. That makes sense to me too. We've seen again guys that we don't talk about often that profiled pretty well here. I think another guy is Callum Tarrant. Works well here. I think a little longer. Probably again, he's probably more matchups or finishing position looks. Nasty Lashley is played well here. Is melted down here in a very public way on a Sunday afternoon. Did not handle himself well, but seems to like this place. Troy Merritt, another guy that does kind of these things well. And, again, these are all kind of like the Brendan Todd All-Stars. Nick Taylor. Scott Stallings may be a little bit underrated considering how he finished the year and where he is like in relation to the rest of this board. Just in terms of like maybe his baseline skill should be a little bit higher because like he's down the board a little bit. 55s on Scott Stallings where it's like this guy was like, I don't know, in the Tour Championship and like playing really, really good golf down the stretch, right? We're not so far removed from that, from running long-term form stuff. Scott Stallings should be, populating a little bit higher for folks in being behind Matt Kuchar on the odds board and stuff like that feels a little bit tough. I didn't mention Andrew Putnam at the top. Another guy that I wanted was on my short.
Fucked.
So bad. Same. Like shortlist on Sunday night. It was he was on it, but now we're dealing with
he rated so high for me and everything, and then I'm like, oh, if I find like a 35, 40,
yeah, same.
I'm like, what are we doing? Andrew Putnam 25-1.
Yeah,
so I mean, there's places down at 20. That's unreasonable at this point. So, and I am checking out the Discord. It looks like Ron matches with me on a few too. He played Lipsky. He played Stallings and Smalley, Neesmith. So good to know. Well, we'll be cheering for Lipsky. That'll be the trifecta then.
Love it.
That is the BetSports Golf consensus lock. David Lipsky. Where's he from, Noonan?
No idea. He's an American.
L.A.
Okay.
Los Angeles kid. He's 34. Played at the known for their golf team, Northwestern. Big Ten golf guys. Actually, Minnesota has a pretty good golf team. They've produced some golfers over the years.
Hey, Luke Donald and Matthew Fitzpatrick are Wildcat alums.
No, that's true. That's true.
Yeah,
it's more of a journalism school than a golf school. So
yeah. So yeah, that's going to be it for now. But take advantage of the 30% off, as Andy mentioned at the top. Alpha Max Homa went out and took care of business. He's drinking lots of coffee. Coffee is for closers, and Max is a closer. Does not care for second place. He tastes the smoke and seal the deal. So bet some futures on Max. Andy made a good point. Max is like a top 10 player in the world, top 12 player in the world. You stretch things out.
Bet him too early.
Shouldn't be 46-1 at the players. That's out there for you. To push back on that, hey, he won last year in the Potomac. Last year's Quail Hollow, and then the real Quail Hollow. He swept.
That's the thing. He's probably a better fit for actual Quail Hollow.
He swept 4-0 at the President's Cup.
He won at the replacement course.
Yeah. So Max
Potomac was tough.
Yeah, Potomac was tough, and that was the Potomac leaderboard was Keegan Bradley and Max again. So
that's weird.
Yeah.
Well, that's how you do good. If Keegan does well, you're doing well. So
it works for me. Yeah.
Hopefully you guys are doing well as well. And like I said, go check out betsportsgolf.com. In the description of this YouTube video, eventually, producer has to take care of this first. There will be a link to Ron's free preview article. He goes through all 3 courses, talks about history, previous finishes for everyone, a bunch of strokes gained data on everything that's important, at least at Pebble Beach. Kind of goes through the weather. It's a really good and intensive article. It's the only one you need this week. It's the only one I've read this week because I haven't had a lot of time to do much of anything. It's been a busy week. The Super Bowl finishing up the Super Bowl is nigh. The conference championship games finishing up. So check that out if you want to grab 30% off. BetSports Golf right there. Click on the top. It'll take you to the pricing page. That's good through the end of the week here. And yeah, for me and Noonan, good luck. Enjoy just finally getting to sit and watch golf on the main screen because there's no football this weekend.
Watch it on Sunday. Saturday's kind of a mess. They want to show you all the celebs. Yeah. Sunday, if you're a golf fan, it's a good watch on Sunday. Pebble Beach is beautiful.
Oh, yeah. We'll see you guys.